All right, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here from FingerWakes1.com, live from the studios here at the third floor of the North Park building. Paul Russo, Kyle Evans to my right, my, kitty corner left, Nate Sharman behind the scenes, as always. Boys, happy Monday, happy deadline day eve. Plenty to get to there. Hopefully you all had a good weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Just waiting for some trades to go down. But yeah, overall, it was pretty good.
Good. Nate?
Fantastic Saturday night at Frontier Field as always.
How many Ginnies were deleted?
There was a couple Jennies that were deleted. Always fun to see Milo out there getting the bat. Milo gets such a good applause there too. It's so much fun. Boy.
How many glizzies did you delete?
No glizzies. I had some other different food. I can't remember what you said.
Oh, did you have the steak, the chicken steak?
Oh yes, I did. The buffalo chicken. Yeah. I can't even pronounce it.
Kyle.
Buffalo chicken steak sandwich.
We need to explain to Kyle the greatness of this sandwich. Okay. Now, minor league baseball. By the way, I didn't send you the picture of this. Nate, did you see the picture I sent you of what I had Saturday night?
Yes, I did.
So, minor league baseball is just a tremendous cacophony of greatness, right? Anywhere from the playing itself to the ballparks to the promotions, excuse me, to the ballpark food. Okay. Rochester Frontier Field has, they have, your typical, tenders, hot dogs, stuff like that, right? But they also have garbage plates there. But over on the first baseline, they have this, not steakhouse style, but, it's, they specialize in having like Philly steaks, and one of the sandwiches over there is a chicken Philly, but it's buffaloized, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's life-altering. In a positive way, life-altering.
Yeah, I should probably eventually get to Frontier Field this year.
Oh my gosh. I haven't been in a minute, but I think that's going to change next week. Obviously, we went down off of a rabbit hole to a degree, but, obviously Rochester and Syracuse home last week. Rochester a bit on the skids at the moment, but obviously we'll talk about that in a little bit. Syracuse done pretty well, and the big league clubs certainly had themselves a weekend with the Yankees and Mets, to say the least.
Yeah, things are a little different between the two teams than they were, a week or two ago. One team has been winning some more games lately, and the other team is kind of just sitting at 500 over their last 10 games or so.
Yeah. Well, we'll jump right in because unlike, I wouldn't say maybe unlike, probably the wrong term, but, this episode especially, right, we're going to be doing a lot of theorizing and stuff like that, obviously with the trade deadline being tomorrow. There won't be, I not to say this in this sense, but there won't be, I guess, as much emphasis on looking too much at the games themselves and stuff like that from the past weekend. We'll jump right in and start with the Yankees, a 4-game set against the Royals. I know I bit the bullet. I figured they'd sweep. They didn't, but they did take the series 3 out of 4. I mean, 4 games, no matter who you play against, is tough, right? I mean, that's just the way baseball tends to work for the most part in that sense. Thursday night, 1-0 Yankee victory in walk-off fashion. We'll obviously touch on who did that in a second. Clay Holmes picked up the win, 5-1 on the year at that point, a 1.20 ERA at that point. The loss was Scott Barlow, a name to keep an eye on. More on him in a second as well. 4-3 at the time, a 2.11 ERA for him. Jameson Taillon got the start. No decision, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits and 8 strikeouts. Gleyber Torres went 1 for 3, picked up the first of 2 hits for the Yankees on the night. But the main one was an Aaron Judge walk-off solo home run. Also picked up a walk and a stolen base on the way. Judge just continues this nutty pace. Obviously, his name's going to pop up again here as we progress through the weekend of recapping the games. But, obviously was not a easy game for the Yankees on Thursday night. Obviously, only had 2 total hits. But, just seems as though Aaron Judge maybe just doesn't quite have that clutch gene, I think, right? Oh, wait, no, sorry, Carabas.
I was just going to say he better
just
be
a
quiet.
little bit off. So, but look, Judge again just kind of showing up when he needed to and got the job done.
Yeah, it was just a really weird game to start the series off. I was a little worried. And then, Judge just comes through again, pretty much what he's done all year for this team. Just kind of at times carried the team. Just impressive to watch, and obviously he just continued to rake in the series as the series went on.
And I mentioned Clay Holmes. We'll touch on that again as once we get past the Sunday game here, yesterday's game. Friday, 11-5 Yankee victory. Albert Abreu picked up the win out of the bullpen, 2-0, a 2.22 ERA. Scott Barlow picked up the loss there, moves to 4-4 and 2.45 ERA. Aaron Judge, 3 for 5, 2 total home runs, 6 collective RBIs, 2 runs scored. Anthony Rizzo, 2 for 4, a solo home run for him and 2 runs scored as well. Then Andrew Benintendi, after a rough first game, got out of the gates pretty good on Friday and Saturday. Friday, 1 for 3, a walk, an RBI, and a run scored for him. Just collectively a really good Yankee victory there. Obviously, the Royals kind of jumped out a little bit at them on Friday, as was really the case kind of in a way all weekend. Obviously, not so much on the Saturday game, but obviously Sunday as well yesterday. Before jumping to Saturday's game, I do want to mention the Scott Barlow name, not to tread too much or jump too much on, trampling ahead a little bit. But Scott Barlow is going to be a name that I think both Yankee and Mets fans are going to want to keep an eye on here as the deadline approaches tomorrow. Look, records out the bullpen are rough to really indicate sometimes. Scott Barlow's been a guy, really, you could make the case, probably the Royals' most steady hand they've had collectively the past 4 seasons or so, give or take. Having a really pretty much a career standout year for him. ERA's finally gotten at a point where it's, considered good for him and everything like that. He is a name that's popped up, I know, on the Yankee radar a little bit. I think the Mets at this point have taken a little bit of notice on him as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. Now, again, not to jump too far ahead for what we'll really be doing here in a few minutes. Saturday, I mentioned that game a little bit, an 8-2 Yankee victory. Nestor Cortez picked up the win for the Yankees. Jonathan Heasley, the loss for the Royals. And Clark Schmidt picked up the long save for the Yankees, his second save on the year. Aaron Judge, for the third time in the series, 2 for 3, a home run, 2 walks, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. DJ LeMahieu, 3 for 5, a home run, and 2 RBIs there and run. And then Clark Schmidt, mentioned him, right? 3 innings out of the bullpen, 2 hits and 5 Ks to pick up that save. It's a really good Yankee win on, quality win to me on Saturday. And at least on the Yankee front anyway, the only decision for a starting pitcher the whole series.
Yeah, that was the only game that it seemed like the Yankees kind of had control of from the start. Other than that, the other 3 games, like the Royals, they surprised me. They were just playing really tough. They were never out of it. That showed Sunday when they were ahead and they blew the lead and they just jumped back in front and hold the lead again.
Now, obviously, you mentioned that, an 8-6 victory for the Royals on Sunday. Taylor Clark to pick up the win out of the bullpen there. Mentioned Clay Holmes. He gets the loss, 5-2, a 1.77 ERA. Touch on that in just a moment. Anthony Rizzo, 2 for 4, home run, 3 RBIs for him. DJ LeMahieu had a home run and 2 RBIs as well. And then Matt Carpenter, 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and a run scored. This will, can tie into with our news and notes here a little bit as well. But an interesting stat I saw on Clay Holmes, his past 15 games, he's been at 500. He's been at an average pace for a pitcher. Obviously, that'd be perfectly fine, I think, in a normal situation. But compared to what he had been doing to start the year for the Yankees, it's certainly, I wouldn't say troubling. I don't think troubling is the right term, but certainly a bit of a head-turner situation for them. Obviously, trying to figure out, at this point, do we go back to Chapman? Do we stick with Holmes? I know where we stand on this. I think you still kind of go Holmes. But that being said, this is the first time in his career that he's kind of, I guess, had this spotlight on him in a sense, right? Probably fair to kind of explain it that way. To me, it's just all about adjustments at this point, right? Just get the adjustments going. It's a lot like Nestor Cortez in a way about a month ago, give or take, where guys probably finally had enough of a notebook on him. here, the tendencies, here are the pitches, here are the, now we get to, the different points with Statcast and stuff like that, right? With here's the rev rotations, here's, everything like that, right? And batters are adjusting. To me, Clay, it's just about adjustments at this point. To me, anyway, like I said, spotlight's finally on him. First time in his career like this. And I think it's just a matter of, kind of himself maybe taking that step back a little bit, getting his own notebook out and be like, all right, here's where I can adjust. Here's where I can, maybe throw different sequence of pitches, stuff like that.
Yeah, what really stood out to me, I was looking at his stats the other day. Over his last 15 games, he has a 5.29 ERA.
Yeah.
Like that kind of raises eyebrows a little bit because, in the beginning of the year, or like more than the beginning of the year, he was just almost unhittable.
Right.
And now it kind of just seems like he doesn't have control of his pitches as much. His sinker's moving all over the place. He's hitting batters. He's walking batters. It's just not what we've seen from him all year. And then last night or yesterday afternoon, that was the first home run he's allowed all season. Like that's crazy because of how late in the year it is. But yeah, Chapman has looked good over his last 3 outings. I don't know. You know how I feel about Chapman, but at the same time, Holmes is struggling. So maybe you could probably give Chapman a game and see how he does in a save situation.
Right. All right, let's touch on some news and notes here, and then look ahead for what the Yankees got before we jump into their trade deadline discussion. Giancarlo Stanton, he should be resuming baseball activities at the very least sometime this week. They say it could be as early as today, at least at the time of taping. Going live right now, it's about 11:12. We haven't seen one way or another yet, but plan is at some point this week, at the very least, for him to get some swings in and start getting back into the baseball activity mode. Speaking of baseball activity, Luis Severino will be resuming his throwing program today. Obviously been dealing with the arm issues and going along with that. Miguel Castro remains in no-throw protocol. However, things are going very slowly for him, not at the pace the Yankees would like. Probably not also the pace that Miguel Castro would like, for that matter, but he's still be in no-throw protocol here still. He's been with the right shoulder strain. Then a couple of other just notes. Ryan Weber and Shane Green, right-hand pitchers, both signed minor league contracts with the Yankees after electing free agency after being designated for assignment last week.
And there is actually one other note. Aaron Boone said yesterday that Zach Britton will face hitters later this week for the first time since his surgery, so that's a big step. Because he's been just throwing bullpens, and now he actually got hitters in the box. It's totally different.
So, obviously, that's pretty big. Let's take a look at the upcoming stuff here first for the Yankees before we settle into the trade discussions for them. 3 games against the Seattle Mariners, the Hot M's out of the AL West, second there with a 55-48 record, 12 games back of the division lead. It's a today, Monday through Wednesday series. Today, a 7:05 first pitch on Yes. Marco Gonzalez, 6-10, a 3.66 ERA. Be going against Domingo Germán, 0-1, an 8.22 ERA there. This might be Germán's last start as a Yankee, possibly. Again, not to jump too far ahead, but remains to be seen, I guess, his future in pinstripes at this point. Tuesday, tomorrow, 7:05 first pitch on Yes. Logan Gilbert, 2.78 ERA for him, 10-4 on the year. One of the bright young arms in baseball against Jameson Taillon, 10-2, a 3.72 ERA. And then Wednesday, 1:05 first pitch on Yes, getaway game. Mariners will be throwing the recently acquired Luis Castillo, 4-4, 2.86 ERA for them. For his season, all with the Reds so far, against Garrett Cole, a 9-3 record, a 3.30 ERA. So, this one's going to be a tough series for the Yankees. I still think they take 2 of 3, but this is going to be a very tough series of arms for the most part for the Yankees to go through. Obviously, Castillo, we know what he can do. Mentioned Logan Gilbert. And Marco Gonzalez tends to be the name you kind of forget about. Obviously, record-wise, not where you want to be, but the ERA has slowly been coming down for him. He's kind of finding that form he had in 2020 and 2019 a little bit again. So, should be, like I said, it's going to be a tough series no matter what. I'm going 2 of 3, though, the Yankees get from Seattle.
Yeah, I'll say they'll take the first 2 and drop the third game against Castillo.
All right, so let's talk about the Yankees trade deadline stuff here because obviously, I mentioned, as an example, right, Domingo Germán where's he going to fit in this rotation once Severino comes back? Could he be used as trade bait? Just as an example, right? I mean, we know that Miguel Andujar will be used as trade bait. He's going to be a piece in a trade, more than likely. That came out yesterday. The Yankees at this point, long shots for Juan Soto. The way it seems, it's pretty much as long as you're not on the West Coast, you're going to be a long shot at this point for Soto. But either way, it's going to be an interesting, I think, deadline deal here going at the moment. It's been quite the interesting, I guess, series of days played out, and obviously we'll touch on this with the Mets a little bit too. But the Juan Soto stuff has really held some things up across the deadline for multiple teams, not just the Yankees, not just the Mets. But it's kind of brought the market to a bit of a halt for the time being, I'd say.
GMs don't want to give like pieces away when they don't know like if they're still in on Juan Soto. That's the thing. I don't believe some of these reports saying that it's down to 3 teams. No team is just going to be out because of like what other teams are like offering. It's always about like what the team that's trading him away wants to get in return. Like I see some people, I think it was the Nationals, that they're not high on Anthony Volpe like all the other teams are. That's kind of crazy to me. Like all the other teams around the league are high on him, but not the Nationals. Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know. I think each team's different for what they look for in a player, or what positionally speaking, anyway, what they're looking for in a player. Take a look at a couple other names. The Yankees have touched base with the Pirates on Jose Catana. Lefty Army's having a nice renaissance here.
I would hate that move
in Pittsburgh. I don't know if I necessarily would hate it, but again, I don't know where he would exactly fit into the equation at this point.
And is he really better than what they have now? Like,
yeah, I mean that's true. I think he'd be better than Herman.
That's why Luis Castillo was they needed to get him, but I'm not gonna lie, his price was way too high. I think for him,
yeah,
he's not like he's not like a star. He's not a Max Scherzer. Right.
But at the same token, the Mariners didn't really give up a ton in that regard either, in that sense. I don't know. The Yankees mentioned that, right? I mean, they were also in on shortstop Edmundo Sosa before he got dealt to the Phillies as well. I think that would have been a lot of depth stuff. So the Yankees, obviously, without going on too much with the Montas link as well here, forgot about that, but it seems at the moment the Yankees are more or less checked in on a lot of depth pieces more than anything else at this point. Not to say that's necessarily a bad thing, but I really do think the Yankees need to get, whether it's Frankie Montas, someone along that line. Get yourself another one of the higher-end starters. Obviously, Montas, maybe not quite where Castillo is yet, but Montas, young enough, you'll have some control over him. Who knows what kind of happens there. You probably don't have to give up as hefty as a price, to be honest with you, for Montas. Obviously, you probably still have to give up a top-end prospect, but you aren't going to probably have to give up too much because the A's are going to be the A's in that sense, at least in that realm of thinking anyway.
Yeah, we're, just under 31 hours from the deadline. I don't know. I kind of got this feeling that the Yankees won't do too many moves again. Like, that's kind of what they do. They just love to hang on to prospects. Yeah. And it's just frustrating because this is the year that, like, nobody expected, and they're, like, right in it, and they have a legit shot if they just add a few more pieces, especially to the pitching side. And I see a lot of people saying out there that they still need to add another bat, which, I mean, I guess that wouldn't hurt, but who are you adding?
Right.
If it's not Juan Soto, who are you adding? And then I'm seeing a lot of people saying Paul Blackburn as an option from Oakland as a starter. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, so you mentioned the bat, too. I think Gallo's time as the Yankees going to be coming to an end as well. There are other teams that want to be more than willing to take some flyers on him.
Did you see what the Rays said about him?
I didn't see exactly what they said about him, but I know the Braves have checked in and the Padres have checked in.
Somebody asked the Rays, I forgot, some reporter asked like the Rays, I guess the front office staff, and they're saying that the Yankees are asking way too much for Gallo. So yeah. I don't know. There's a report out there on Twitter. I'd have to find it, but yeah. So that's interesting that you're asking that much for Joey Gallo. Like, at this point, wouldn't you just be glad to get him off your team?
Right. True. All right, let's move on to the Mets now, as we're having some stuff run up against the clock to a degree to get things moving along. The Mets swept Miami over the weekend. Friday, a 6-4 victory. Adam Ottavino picks up the win out of the bullpen, his fifth, 5-2 record, a 2.29 ERA. Steven Okert, the loss for the Marlins, 5-1, a 2.72 ERA for him. Edwin Diaz picks up his 23rd save of the year, only one of the weekend for him, though. Top performer, Starly Marte, 3 for 5, home run, a triple, 3 RBIs and a run scored. Brandon Nimmo also had a home run, a double, 3 RBIs and 2 runs scored, going 2 for 5 on day. And Nate, your favorite guy, Danny Vogelbaum's 2 for 4, 2 doubles and a walk. So, obviously, Mets come out of the gate pretty good on Friday. We're down for a little bit there. Miggy Rojas had a pretty good game for the Marlins, so good to see the Mets kind of got going there. That ended up being a little bit of the storyline through the whole weekend.
Vogie making more of an impact for the Mets than Holderman has for the Pirates so far.
Well, it's a little bit of a different situation what they did with him.
Stuck in Indy, but
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Saturday, a 4-0 Mets victory over the Marlins. Cookie Carrasco picked up his 11th win on the year, 11-4, a 3.79 ERA. Nick Neidert, the loss, 0-1, 3.60 ERA. Carrasco went 7 2/3, 4 hits and 7 strikeouts. Francisco Lindor, 2-run home run, 3 for 4 on the day for him. And then Jeff McNeil, 2 for 4, a home run, a double, an RBI, and a run scored. Then we'll just touch Sunday's game here quickly. 9-3 Met victory there. Taijuan Walker picked up the win, 9-2, a 2.79 ERA for him. Pablo Lopez, the loss, 7-6, a 3.41 ERA. Mark Canha went 3 for 5, 2 RBIs, a double, or 2 runs scored rather, and a stolen base. Francisco Lindor, 3 for 5, a double, an RBI, and a run scored. And Jeff McNeil, 3 for 5, a double, an RBI, and a run scored as well there. So big sweep for the Mets. Obviously, Friday, we'll be able to get, like I mentioned, slow, comeback win. Saturday, in control the whole time. Sunday, in control the whole time. We've talked about the Mets where this offense can kind of get a little bit stagnant at times, but boy, did they come out guns blazing this weekend against the Marlins.
And it's a good thing they did against a, I guess a bad Marlins team, I could say. Because if
I don't know about bad per se. They're definitely a scrappy bunch, but
yeah, I classify them as bad. But yeah, it's good that they came out like that because that would have been pretty embarrassing to drop one of those games. Friday was a little tough for them, but like you said, Saturday and Sunday, like Marlins had no shot. Just complete control.
And Nate Statman over here with the big stat over there with 6 games in a row for the Mets now. And that's needed. Obviously, the Braves still really hanging in there. The Phillies all of a sudden have come on strong really over the course of the past month. And look, you can't take the game against Marlins lightly. I mean, I know we can say what we want about them, but I feel like really the only time you can probably take days off might be against the Nationals, who the Mets will be playing this week.
Days off.
You can only play the games who's on your schedule.
Exactly.
But I like what Kyle has said in the past about how the Braves are going to hang around. I think that's really a smart thing to think about. And, like I said earlier, too, before we got on, winning 6 games in a row and you're only leading the division by 3. Mm-hmm. That's a tough spot to be in, but just got to keep cruising if you're the Mets.
Right. So let's touch on some news and notes for them. Right-hand pitcher Drew Smith was placed on the injured list with a strained right lat. Kind of been the injury of the year for the Mets, I guess, in a way. Lost strained right lats for them. And the Yankees, now that I'm thinking about it, too. Might be the injury of the season in New York. Catcher James McCann could return to the Mets this week from his rehab assignment. He's been with Binghamton the past week or so there, kind of getting reps back in. First baseman Dom Smith could also begin his rehab assignment this week. Where exactly will be to be determined based on where everybody is, although I have a semi-decent idea of where it could be. Right-hand pitcher, I don't know if this is maybe necessarily the biggest news the Mets had over the weekend, but maybe 1A out of the group. Right-hand pitcher Jacob deGrom is slated to return to the Mets rotation this week. More on that in a moment. Mets also went to the trade market once again as they acquired center fielder Tyler Naquin and left-hand pitcher Philip Deal from the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for minor leaguers second baseman Hector Rodriguez and right-hand pitcher Jose Acuna. Deal will be for pitching depth. He is already down at Syracuse. Naquin, however, will certainly be getting plenty of innings and reps for the Mets in that starting lineup. Uh, he's a plus player for the most part. Bat got off to a really slow start this year. He also was dealing with some injuries to get going out of the year. But that being said, Bat's coming around, plus defender. Really good pickup in my mind for the Mets, and at a pretty, low cost, all things considered.
Yeah, and I saw yesterday he picked up his first hit and RBI as a Met, so that was good to see. I think, like you said, it was a pretty good move for the team, especially because he's a left-handed bat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is a left-handed bat, so he'll take the reps against right-handed batters. Mark Hanna will take predominantly now the reps against left-hand pitchers. But this also opens up possibilities. I mean, this is going to allow for Nimmo and those other guys in the outfield take reps anyway in the outfield to really, whether it's, just have outright days off or just time at DH where, you don't have to go 100% all day. I mean, that's a pretty good move, all things considered, for the Mets. It does come at least a cult following price. Center fielder Travis Jankowski was designated for assignment in the move for that to clear roster space. And then right-hand pitcher Steve Nogasek and left-hand pitcher Sam Clay were recalled from AAA Syracuse for that. So, big deal there for the Mets. We'll circle back to the trade, obviously, in a minute once we get through the upcoming stuff and discuss their trades market and what they're doing. 3 games at the Nationals. I mentioned them, 5th in the NL East at 35-68. Series is Monday through Wednesday. Nate, I feel like looked at the notes just now. I know Kyle did, but I was going to play guess how many games back they are, but a whopping 30 games back.
Hard to do.
Borderline impressive.
Hard to do.
Tonight, 7:05 on SNY, Max Scherzer 6-2 with 2.09 ERA against Patrick Corbin with a very impressive 4-14 record and a 6.49 ERA. Tuesday, tomorrow night, 7:05 on SNY. Jacob deGrom is projected as the starter for the Mets as first of the year. He'll be going against Corey Abbott, recently recalled from Rochester, whose record is 0-0 and a 3-flat ERA. Wednesday, getaway game, 4:05 on SNY. Chris Bassett, 7-7, a 3.83 ERA against Anibal Sanchez, 0-3, a 7.47 ERA.
This is going to be the easiest sweep for the Mets all year.
Yeah, I don't want to outright say, look, it's baseball. Anything can happen, blah, blah, blah. But, I have a hard time imagining the Mets losing any of these games against the Nationals.
I don't even think they're going to make it close in any of the games or even be close late in a game.
Yeah, I have a hard time factoring in the Mets in this one, or the Nationals, rather, in this one. So, look, baseball, I think could happen. But, I'm with you, Kyle, 100%. All right, let's talk about some Mets more, trade stuff. And
stop with the JD Martinez stuff. They're asking way too much for him. The Mets are not going to trade for him.
That's not even where I was going to start, but we can start there. I feel like if the Mets were actually really in on him, I don't know if they necessarily make the Vogelbach trade in the first place, to be honest with you anyway. Obviously, look, Martinez is a better player than Vogelbach, but that being said, I don't think you make that trade to get Vogelbach knowing that you're going to get JD Martinez.
Well, maybe he'll be part of the deal back.
That's some Cliff Floyd
crazy.
That's some Cliff Floyd type moving right there. Obviously mentioned that Juan Soto is again a long shot for the Mets. Obviously, I think it would have been anyway because I think just of how tough it would be in division. I would imagine the price would be significantly higher than it would be for even, say, the Padres in that scenario. Only because, like I said, you're in division. You don't want to face that guy more times than you have to already in the first place.
I hate teams and GMs that just sit there and want to hang on to prospects. Like, with the season the Mets are having, like, I would literally just make a deal and give up whatever you have for Juan Soto. Like, literally. That would be a difference maker. With the kind of year you're having, I would just do it. Like, yeah, you're kind of, like, messing with the future, but at the same time, look at where you're at compared to the last few years. I would just go all out, and I don't know why more teams don't do that. Like the Yankees, I have a feeling they're just going to do what they do every year and just hang on to prospects and make little minor depth moves that don't actually impact the team in October.
So speaking of impact here, over the course of the past, we'll call it week and a half when the rumors first started, Shohei Ohtani is linked with the Mets. Obviously, again, a bit of a long shot here, but it's interesting that the Mets have called in on Ohtani.
Can they please trade Ohtani so we can have like a wild trade deadline?
Well, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. Could you imagine if both Soto and Ohtani were traded? That'd be. We're dealing with something unprecedented if that were the case.
And I'm all for it, please.
Well, I
make it
mean, I'm
happen.
all for it too, but it would take a lot to get Ohtani. The way it sounds, the Angels would probably want all the top prospects. The Mets have put Francisco Alvarez, the catcher, off limits. Joel Sherman, depending upon how much you want to believe him, but admittedly he tends to have a pretty decent pulse, at least on the New York teams. They want the Mets to put Brett Beatty also on that list of no trade. And then Andy Martino from SNY also has said that Mark Ventios is viewed as in a similar light, but they'd be more keen to probably accept moving on from him if they had to. So it's going to be interesting if that's the case, even for Soto, if those were the players involved. You mentioned the Red Sox, right? The Mets are also linked with a couple other Red Sox players in this realm, including pitcher Nathan Eovaldi and catcher Christian Vasquez. Goes without saying, the Mets certainly do need an upgrade at catching, even when James McCann comes back at this point. Personally, I think it probably depends on where you are, but or the person you are, I still would rather try and go out and get Wilson Contreras if I'm the Mets than Christian Vasquez. Vasquez's bat can be, no pun intended, kind of hit and miss, whereas Contreras certainly gives you more consistency at the dish. Vasquez is a hair better defensively than Contreras, but I think when push comes to shove, I'd rather have Wilson than Christian Vasquez behind the plate.
Yeah, if I'm the Mets, I'm definitely trying to at least upgrade at the catching position. And also, I'm pretty sure they've been linked to David Robertson.
Yeah.
So that would also be a good add to the pen because their pen has struggled at times. Even for the Yankees, adding David Robertson back to the bullpen probably wouldn't be a bad idea. We still don't know what we're going to get with Zach Britton. But, yeah, as for the Mets, I think catching, bullpen, that's probably about it. Unless they somehow can land Juan Soto, but I don't see it happening. It's a very long shot. But it's probably my main thoughts on the trade deadline with the Mets.
Yeah, there's a couple other names, too, with the Mets to keep an eye on, including just specifically with the Red Sox. A guy like Mott Strom, pitchers like Michael Wacha, who, they probably would more than likely be. I mean, Strom would definitely be out of the bullpen. He's only been a bullpen guy, but Wacha would probably be a long guy. Kind of maybe like a David Peterson-esque in a way. Probably use him in that sense as well. The Mets, like I said, they're in an interesting spot. I don't know what to really fully expect with them. They're gonna try and go after. Like I said, I think they're gonna try and really do some splash stuff. Maybe not quite the Soto Ohtani type deal, but certainly a guy like I said, I'd rather see them if they're going to do the move at catcher, which I think they should do. I think you're going to be able to get more bang for your buck doing Contreras. That way, you're also in my mind, Robertson, who, unless you really die hard on trying to get a lefty arm, like, say, Matt Strom, I mean, Robertson's been way better. You know what you're getting out of him. He's a closer, has closer background. You can for sure use him at a spot where if you need to give Edwin Diaz a day off from pitching, you could if you've used him 4 straight days or something like that. Robertson's a really good guy to do that with.
Isn't the Pirates closer also available? What is his name? David
Bednar.
I'm hearing.
Yeah, he's going to be available-ish, but I don't want to put words in mouths. I don't have enough intel on this to fully go out on the limb and say he won't be traded, but I think you'd have to pony up for David Bednar. He's very keen. They're very keen on him. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He's from just north of there, from Mars, PA. I mean, his walkout is Renegade, which if you're a Steelers fan, you understand what that means, unfortunately. So,
and if you're a Bills fan, you know what happens last time the Steelers played that.
Right. So, but like I said, I think the asking price for Bednar would be slightly more than what even the Yankees got for Clay Holmes last year. So, are you willing to risk that? I don't know, but either way. Okay, let's move on to our teams down on the farm here before we head on out with the Red Wings and Mets. The Red Wings, things have not gone well. They have lost 11 straight games over the weekends against Scranton. Losses 6-8 and 9-10 on Friday. Saturday was a 4-7 loss, and yesterday on Sunday was a 2-9 loss. That being said, it's not like they haven't been playing bad ball. They've been playing some really good baseball, all things considered. Sometimes baseball just works in ways like that. To me, they're going to need to figure out the pitching situation. Their offense has still been phenomenal. Palacios, Meneses, Null, Stevenson, Casey, we mentioned the same guys, right? They're all doing what they have to do. It comes down to pitching at this point. That being said, a name that some might recognize if you're a Cardinal fan, Daniel Ponce de Leon. He has been assigned to Rochester. Nationals brought him on recently, so he'll be joining Rochester, a quality big league arm at one point. So we'll see how well that goes. D. Strange Gordon was also assigned to Rochester from Washington, so at least he got another big league voice in that clubhouse. I think that will help out a little bit too as well. And then Nate, good news for you, bud. You were one of 47,901 people to attend a game last week. That was the most in a 6-game homestand since 2019 at Frontier Field.
Yeah, can you believe that many people came out to see Milo?
Well, it wasn't just that for Milo.
I know.
Milo
But it was pretty cool, that game.
But
Christmas in July was really well done, too.
Yeah.
Some appearances from Santa.
I think it says a lot, though, that that many people are still turning out. Because, like I said, they're still playing quality baseball. It's not like they're playing outright bad ball. It's just that the way baseball is sometimes, that's just kind of the way things happen.
I mean, it's a great way to bring the family and everything. It costs you within $20 to go to the game, and it's a great viewing experience. It's beautiful outside. There's not really many other great things you can do for that amount of money. So it's really just a quality time, regardless of they lost 11 straight, but it's still just a quality viewing experience.
Yeah, I feel like with minor league teams, the winning doesn't really matter because you still want to go out and watch a baseball game, have a good time with your friends.
Have a Jenny Kolscher, too.
Yeah.
Delete a couple glizzies.
So, yeah, I think it's just a little different with minor league baseball or compared to major league. If it's your team, you don't want to go watch them if they're losing, as Sabres fans would know.
Or perhaps...
As Paul would say, that's a different conversation for a different podcast.
Yep, just trying to.
Because I have some thoughts on that I can share at another time.
Well, so do I. Like, Alex Tuck should be captain, so...
Disagree. Give me Kyle Okposo. Let him be
He
captain.
should be traded. But again, that's a different podcast for a different day. The Syracuse Mets end up splitting with Omaha, the series, but took the weekend, 1-5-3 on Thursday, 9-4 on Friday. Lost 3-6 on Saturday, but won 4-1 on Sunday. So Travis Blankenhorn back with Syracuse. Mentioned Philip Deal. David Pearson was also signed to Syracuse. The Mets want to keep him fresh in the starting stamina category, so expect to see him get some run there. Center fielder Junesi Vargas was assigned to AA Binghamton, and left-hand pitcher Josh Walker is beginning a rehab assignment with the Florida Complex League Mets from Syracuse. So, look, the Mets again, played a little bit of 500 ball last week, but all things considered, still playing really good. Again, can't mention it enough. It was playing good after starting the year off so bad.
Wow, I'm stunned. I just look at the records. I did not realize that Syracuse just 2 games back in the win column. It's crazy. After the way the season started, they were in totally different directions. And that 11-game losing streak obviously really hurt, though. But yeah, it's crazy to see how the teams have kind of flipped a little bit.
Both teams this week on the road. Rochester down at Columbus. That's the AAA affiliate of the Cleveland Guardians. And we talked about them enough. You know where Lehigh Valley is and who they're affiliated with. But Syracuse is on the road there this week. So A little bit of a scheduling note for the next couple weeks. Our Thursday podcast will be Friday in the next 2 weeks at 10:30 each time for live, and then obviously after the fact you can catch up anytime. But Kyle Evans, you will be up at Bill's camp. That's the reason why. So hopefully you get some good weather for all that. I know this week's looking at least positive for that note. Obviously next week's a little bit too far out, but
Pretty excited to be there.
you always kill coverage anyway of stuff. So hopefully you get some awesome stuff to cover at camp and bring home some bacon for us here in that regard anyway.
Yeah, excited to see the future MVP Josh Allen.
Plus more importantly, I guess in that realm, a nice little fan experience for you as well in that sense. So
For sure.
but Josh Allen MVP, eh?
Yep.
Wow.
This year.
We'll go out on a limb and say he won't even be the MVP for the Bills this year.
And he will be a Super Bowl champion.
Ooh. Nate, you're a Bills fan. How do you feel about that prediction?
I mean, if you're Vegas, they're the odds-on favorite, so it's not a bold prediction.
I love your politically correct sentence that you just had there.
Probability is there if you're an algorithm. So
Good luck stopping that offense. That's all
Look,
I'm
we get enough of this to peel back the curtain a little bit. We get enough of a little bit of the homerism out of Kyle around here, but we need to get Nate a little bit of an homerism moment here eventually. We're gonna have to work on that.
no cheering in the booth, Paul. You know that.
It's there. See, you know what I mean? Can't get it out of him.
Let me correct that. Maybe a little bit on the podcast, but as a
Sure.
writer, no, there's none of that.
It's true. Oh, you just dropped a little bit of a nugget there. So we'll circle back on that at some point on here, probably a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk to everybody Friday, like I said this week, 10:30. Watch us live on YouTube. Catch up anytime here on YouTube. You can also watch on Spotify after the fact. Listen there, Anchor, and other major podcasting platforms. For Kyle Evans, big thanks again to Nate Sharma behind the scenes. Paul Russo here. We'll catch everybody here next time on Concrete Jungle, New York Baseball Podcast. Have an awesome week, everybody. Talk to you later on.
Finger Lakes one time.